Hey, Lore here, and in this video I'm sharing how to sew your own competition bikini bottoms and everything you need to make sure it fits perfectly. For this bikini, I'm going to use hologram spandex fabric and stretch swimsuit linen. In the description, I have left a link with all my recommendations on where to find these goodies. I will also be using swimsuit elastic in 2 sizes. Rhinestone connectors that are between 5 and 7 inches long for the hip area. Stretch needles, which are super important when sewing with elastic fabrics so your machine doesn't skip stitches. A sewing machine that can do a straight stitch and zigzag stitch. And of course, the sewing pattern to cut the fabric into the exact shape. The pattern I'll be using comes in a PDF file that prints on letter or A4 size paper. You just need to make sure that when you print it, the scale is always set to 100%. This is the most important part. For example, on my computer it always defaults to something different, so I have to manually check where the print scale option is and set it to 100%. Or if you are going to a print shop, just tell them you need it printed at 100% scale and that's it. Once it's printed, each page has little test squares that you can measure to make sure everything printed correctly. Then, all you have to do is match up the letters inside these half circles on the pattern sheets. To do this, you can cut or fold the edge of each page with letters, and do it outside of the gray frame so you can line up A with A, B with B, and so on. You can use tape to connect the sheets until you end up with something like this. Now, choose the coverage you want. For the front, there are 3 options, and for the back, there are 4 options available. The pattern guide includes a page with examples of what each coverage looks like to help you decide. For this video, I'm going to make a bikini with a pro cut in the back and a regular coverage for the front. For this step, you can use paper or, like me, non-adhesive interfacing fabric to trace the piece with the selected measurements like this. This way, I keep my pattern intact for whenever I want to use any of the other sizes available. And now it's time to cut the fabric pieces. First, I arrange one set of the front and back pieces on the fabric, making sure to waste as little fabric as possible. Once they are cut out, I take them to the linen fabric and arrange them again, pinning them down to cut one front piece and one back piece from the linen. Once they are ready, I remove the pins and it's time to start sewing. Let's start by making the ruching for the back piece. So I take the back fabric piece and on the wrong side I mark the center line like this. This is the line where we will sew the 1/4 inch elastic. I select the straight stitch on my sewing machine. Back stitch at the beginning to secure the elastic and start sewing. While I sew, I stretch the elastic with one hand to create the ruching, and with the other hand I gently pull the fabric backward to help the machine move forward smoothly. I try to keep the stitching as straight as possible, and once I'm almost at the end, I back stitch again and trim the excess elastic. And here is how it looks from the front. Now let's join the front piece with the back piece at the crotch. I place the right sides of the fabric together and pin them in place. Repeat this same step with the pieces cut from the linen. Then sew both pieces together 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter from the edge. Back stitching at the beginning and end of each seam. Next, we are going to join the linen pieces with the fabric pieces using pins. For this, I place the wrong side of the fabric facing the wrong side of the linen and start by aligning both pieces at the crotch seam. Make sure that the seams of the linen are facing one way and the seams of the fabric are facing the other way, so they don't all bunch up on one side. I continue pinning around the entire edge of the pieces. If I notice that the linen is a bit bigger than the fabric in some areas, I trim the edges a little bit so it doesn't stick out. The back part takes a little more time because of the ruching, but I carefully adjust it bit by bit, so the sides of the pieces match up. Once everything has pins, it should look like this. Now let's add the elastic around the edges of the pieces. Before we start, I'm going to mark the areas where I won't be adding elastic. For the front piece, it's 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters on each side. So I measure and mark it like this. For the back piece, it's 2 inches or 5 centimeters on each side without elastic. I measure and mark those points, so they will be the starting and ending points when attaching the elastic. We will start with elastic for the leg openings. I select a zigzag stitch with a length of 4 and a width of 6. I place the edge of the elastic on the starting mark at the front and back stitch to secure it. Then I sew forward along the front. I don't pull the elastic too much, just stretch it as slightly as I sew. And when I reach the crotch seam and start sewing the elastic on the back piece, I stretch the elastic a bit more, so that when it's finished, it hugs your curves better and doesn't end up loose. And when I get to the same level as the V shape of the back piece, I stop stretching the elastic and just extend it slightly, like I did on the front. The elastic will look like this, more gathered in the center of the back and smooth on the front. Now to finish the top edges, I use the 1/4 inch elastic and a zigzag stitch with a length of 4 and a width of 4. Just like before, I start at one of the marks, back stitch at the beginning, and don't stretch too much, just extend it slightly. When I reach to the other mark, I back stitch again. For the back piece, I do the same thing, but when I reach the center point of the V shape, I stop with the needle down, lift the presser foot, and turn the fabric like this to continue sewing the other side. And once it's done, I back stitch again and it will look like this. To help the elastic lay better, I make a small cut here. With the elastic in place, I remove all the pins. To finish the edges of the bikini, fold the elastic inward like this, making sure the edges without elastic are folded to the same width as if they had elastic. Then, using the same zigzag stitch I used to attach the elastic, I sew a new seam to keep the fabric edge folded in place. And when I reach the back where the ruching is, I'm extra careful to stretch the elastic to make sure I'm folding the fabric next to the elastic and not more. If the elastic moves inward and I fold more fabric than the one sewn to the elastic, the final seam will look uneven and not very pretty. Once both sides are folded, it will look like this. Now I repeat this same step for the top edges using a zigzag stitch with a width of 4 and a length of 4. I fold the front first and sew it, so when it's done, it looks beautiful like this. Then for the back, the fold in this area will sit on top of the side seam. If the lining is shifting or sticking out, you can trim it like this. I back stitch at the beginning, then continue sewing, and when I reach the center of the V shape, I stop with the needle down, lift the presser foot, and turn the piece to sew the remaining side. Once it's finished, it will look like this. To attach the connectors, I start with the front by threading the fabric straps through the sides of the connector, folding about 1 1/8 inches or 3 centimeters inward, and pin them in place. I sew them with a straight stitch like this, back stitching at the beginning and end to secure everything. Now to attach the connectors for the back, I thread the fabric straps through the loops of the connectors as well. However, how much you fold inward in this part depends on your hip measurements. For the most accurate fit, you can use a safety pin and try it on to find the adjustment that works best for you. The parent guide also includes a recommendation chart that suggests how wide the bikini waistline could be from side to side based on your hip measurements. Once you have the measurements that fits you best, just pin the connectors in place and sew them with a straight stitch like this. And once it's all done, it's time to take some cute photos. And if you haven't seen the video for the top yet, I will leave the link right here and in the comments below. Remember, in your hands lies the power to turn the invisible into visible. Thank you so much for sharing this with anyone you think might find it helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!